Well, here we go. I'm back. Just a little short demo, really, to sort of show you the Hotmod V2 working in an amp that you might not have thought it'd work in, but it actually does work in, because I spoke to Legendary Tones, David at Legendary Tones. The link's down there in the text, and he said, "Oh yeah, just plug it straight in, and you can be taking off, man. That's what you're gonna, what you're gonna have." So I thought I'd give it a whirl. I had 2 or 3 different people asking about this. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the amp it's going to go in, and then we can go from there. Well, here we are down at the little rig. I could have put it in the snake finish job, the top amp, which is really, it's a bit like a 1959 Marshall. It's got no master volume on it, and it's got no real way of controlling that wealth of volume that comes out of it. And I did put this in the 1959 hand wired, and yeah, that's great if you got an attenuator, but well, I don't want to do that because I've already been down that road basically. So what I'm going to do is fit it into this this second amp, this stealth amp, about to come out everywhere, and it's a studio version type, but it's a JCM800 lead series. And the reason I've chosen that one today, firstly, is people were asking about it, but secondly, because it's got master volumes on it and things like that, you know, preamp gain, it's all in there, it's all good, so it's going to be extremely controllable. Oh, and by the way, one of the things I got wrong, I'm like that, I don't read manuals. On the previous video about Hotmod V2, when this is down, it's not actually off, it's reduced output, and when it's up, it's steaming, man. So do bear that in mind, won't you? It's not actually off. You know, it's only off when you pull it out. But don't let that bother you. It's all good. Today I'll be using a microphone that's down here. This is an Audio Technica, the same one I used on the previous video. And this is really, it's 2 microphones in one. And they're in phase. And what I like about it is you can just put it there, and everything's in phase, and it comes into 2 channels on your desk, and you can sort of mix them and things like that. Very useful microphone. This particular one's discontinued, as they always are, but they've got a replacement that does basically the same thing for twice the price. You know how it goes. Anyway, let me whip this apart and show you how this fits. It's all simple. Oh, you're down there. Well, here we go. I've got the back off the amp. I'm going to go in a bit closer so you can get a good idea of how simple this is to fit. It really is simple. Hold on. Just a little note before we go any further. What you had with the Hotmod V2, on the 1959, you have a shroud around the second tube so that you could tighten this little thumb screw up for the grounding. And that's all good. But when I spoke to David about this, he said, "Oh yeah, you need the extra cable to connect it up to basically a capacitor body or something like that." Well, I've fitted the extra cable. It just sort of fits on at the back, as far as I'm concerned, and I'll show you why in a moment. It might not be the way that David said to do it, but there's the clamp, there's the bits, and I'm sure that'll work when I fit it. Now I'm going to go back to the amp, and I'm going to show you why I've done it like this. Because what David said, when you fit this, oh, clamp it to the capacitor. There's just one problem. And as you can clearly see, that one problem is there is no capacitor. There's nothing above deck, really, that you could clamp to, except maybe these here. You could clamp onto that, or you could clip onto the top of this other tube cover. So the tube we got to take out just behind this output transformer. Simple job, but you must get the pins in the right place. Is that okay? Yeah. Hold on. So if you take a quick look at the back of the unit, I've got the switch on this side over here, and I put the wire there, and then when we turn it around, it can come off like that. should be big enough to reach. Okay, there's the tube out. This is a Marshall ECC83. You'll have one of them in yours too. Okay, well, here's a little tip just before you make the mistake. When you pull the tube out, the end with the gap is facing towards the front of the amp. Very difficult to see when you're in there, but if you don't do that, you're never going to be able to fit anything else, including the hot mod too. So do bear that in mind. So if you get yourself in a bit of a tizwas, the gap faces the front of the amp. Now on my unit, you can see that the gap is actually offset. So when this is fitted, it's going to sit something like that. Okay, you'll get it. There's the gap, there's the front. It will sit something offset like that. Now I know that this is adjustable in a few little ways, but it doesn't really bother me, and it probably wouldn't bother you either. So I'm just going to fit this one now. Oh, and one last thing before you do fit it, you're going to need to take this little bracket off for this type of amp. So when you've taken your little bracket off, yours should look like that. Bracket used to be there. So you can see what it's like when it's fitted. Fits in there quite nicely actually. Can move around a little bit, but hardly anything worth bothering with. And what I do is clip that on there. I think that's a good place for it to be. That's nice and clean metal and all the rest of it. Just push your wires out of the way and you're in business. You can get at the little switch, get the torch on the job. You can get at the little switch that's down inside there. You can see that. Okay, well now I've got the quick setup of just showing you the amp where it's just coming out the speaker into the video camera, but I am going to set it up with a mic afterwards. So right now I've got the low channel feed into a Ibanez, and I've got the actual unit, the Hot Mod 2, on the low setting. So everything's set to low, and this is the sort of sound you can get. It's got a little bit of distortion with it. Not bad. Not that loud, but of course you can sort of crank that up a bit. So I'll bring the volume up, the preamp. We've done about there. So that's basically flat out on the preamp and the low input. Okay, well you can see now I've got the preamp turned right off, and I haven't changed anything on the master volume because I don't really like it too loud. And I think we're running on 5 watts, by the way. Yeah, so I didn't crank it too high. So right now I'm going to turn this up to about 30% on the higher gain channel with the Hot Mod 2 turning its low setting. It'll probably be loud. Yeah, I'm going to turn the master down a little bit because I don't want to destroy the video camera. as you can hear, it's substantially different, and we're running at about I don't know, about 10 or 11 o'clock, as you can see on the preamp, and the master volume's at about 9 AM. So it's got a good, you can turn it down and still get, well, sort of clean. And it progressively gets more driven until it's fully driven. We're only at 10 AM. And one thing I do want to mention just while we're here is, if you notice, there is some hiss. It's not even the snake amp. What about that? Hiss, snake? No, forget it. But there's no hum. There's hiss, but no hum. And that's the important bit. So my little grounding method works absolutely perfectly. So let's turn it up, based at 2 o'clock, still on the low setting of the Hot Mod 2. Remember that. Well, you should now notice that the hiss is increased a little bit more. Remember, I've only got the master valve at 9 AM on 5 watts. The great thing is you've got a master valve, and that can control the Hot Mod 2 really well. And the drive on this now, even in the low mode, is, well, it was good as the amp stood, but it's even better now. So we turn it up. It won't quite sustain all day, but very nearly. And if I was to take that master volume up just a little bit more, I'm sure it would. And what we're going to do now is move on to the high gain mode of the Hot Mod 2, and we'll run through it all again. Okay, well, it might look the same out there in YouTube land, when in fact it's the Hot Mod 2 is now in its high gain mode, and all I've done is turn off the preamp, well, the guitar. Yeah, so if we turn the preamp up a little bit, let's turn it to sort of 10 o'clock, where it was before. And I can hear that hiss again. Well, that's not off-putting particularly. I mean, it's pretty loud by now, and what do you expect? So let's turn her up a bit on the guitar. So we've got the guitar at full and the amp's at 10. I don't know how loud it's going to be, but if it distorts in the microphone, well, in the video, I don't know how loud it is now, but if it distorts in the video, well, you'll know how loud it is, won't you? it'd go on forever. Sort of the single notes like, I don't know. Again, you can hear the hiss. There's a noticeable gain. I mean noticeable. I haven't touched anything else. So let's give that a whirl. See how loud it is in Voodoo Land. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's try a few chords. Trust me, it would go all day. Let's check the individual. Now lastly, I'm just going to take this up to flat out. I'm not going to do that for long. But there it is, flat out. We're still at 9 AM and we're still on the 5 watt output on a 1B12 V-type speaker in the matching cab. Yeah. So you can hear the hiss. There's always going to be hiss when it's cranked like that. And you might say, well, the master volume's not cranked, but trust me, you wouldn't want to do that. We're on extremes of gain here, where we've added an extra drive to this amp, even though we didn't really need it. Yeah, it'll take it to another level. So if I just turn the guitar up, you don't have to touch anything. You can just let the strings go and it'll feed back massively. It's like being in front of a 1959 that's cracked. And that's what it's like. But it's a nice sort of distortion, if you will. Chords. Idea. Basically, that amp will sustain all day without even picking a string, so you can go up and down the neck purely with your left hand. That's very reminiscent of actually of the Satriani JVM head. Very reminiscent indeed, and you know how many tubes are in that. Well, as you see, the Hot Mod 2 really does hot mod. No ifs or buts, and it's a relatively simple way of fitting it into that studio. the SC20 stealth amp, and you need that little jumper. So if you ask David at the company, he'll send you one. He's like that. He won't send it for free, but neither should he. Yeah, so if you need that, it might already come in your kit. So definitely worth having a look at your amp before you place an order, and maybe speak to David as well. If you want to order one, you don't have to. This is an independent review, really. I bought this, so what can I say? But I found that it's been particularly useful in the 1959 with an attenuator, the 1959 amp wide just behind us. It's been really very eye-opening in the JCM800 series studio. Very interesting indeed. So I'm going to put the microphone back and just have a bit of a blast, because I'm like that. And if it don't come out very good, don't worry, it's just a poxy video. But you'll get the idea because you've heard it on the 1959 hand wide, and if you haven't, look down there because there'll be a link across to it. Don't forget to visit www.tonymackenzie.com, where I've got loads of reviews, if not up to date. They're still good reviews, and they cover a lot of gear that isn't on YouTube. Yeah, so it's all good. Coming up now is the playing bit, the last bit, and I don't know what I'll play. Might be something clean. Silly me, no, it won't be something clean. I did have a number of requests to see this at work in that amp, in that very amp, and you saw how easy it was to fit. I mean, even I can do it. Until next time, get out of here.